Hi, everyone. This is Megan Van Petten.
And this is Lindsay Poss. You're listening to the EsportsNext podcast. Here, we will highlight the fantastic guests and speakers of the EsportsNext conference.
EsportsNext 2022 is presented by Morgan Stanley and is located in Sweet Home, Chicago. Don't forget to register to secure your spot at the conference and enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the EsportsNext podcast, the official podcast of the EsportsNext conference. I'm Lindsay the Boss Poss, and I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, Megan Van Petten.
Thanks, Lindsay. This episode, we are delighted to welcome Claire Kaido, who's the founder of Emerge, and Grant Paranjape, who is the vice president of the esports business at Washington Justice. Claire and Grant, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you both so much for coming on today. Could you both tell us a little bit about yourself? What was each of your respective entry points into esports, and what do you currently do?
Oh, Claire, you got to say that one first.
I know it's a sticky question to start with.
Grant was my first friend. No. So I was lucky enough to work at Madison Square Garden on the partnerships team, mainly building partnerships around MSG Sports, so the sports side of the organization. And MSG decided to dive into esports through Counter Logic Gaming and the Knicks gaming team. And that actually is where I met Grant through the NBA 2K League as we were building season 1 of that league. So that's where we started. That's how we know each other, which is awesome. And then we moved to 2 different teams. I actually moved on to a video game bar and lounge. It's really a content creator, streamer hub. It's a IRL meetup for a lot of people who have only met digitally. And I founded a talent management company that we will get into, I think, a little bit later. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
It's the NBA 2K League, making lifelong friends.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, my entry to esports. So my fun story is I was a pre-med kid. So I went down to school in New Orleans, down to Tulane University. I'm a neuroscience major by trade, who was supposed to go to med school. Found my way into getting an MBA instead. And, esports was kind of taking off at that time. Riot had started franchising the LCS. I was playing way too much League of Legends. I still don't know how I graduated while playing that much League of Legends, to be honest. And I found my way into working for an endemic esports team called Splice. They owned and operated a number of endemic teams back in the day, ranging from Halo to our European League of Legends franchise. I like to think that was kind of my crash course to both the startup world and the esports world. Did a little bit of everything from selling sponsorships to running a couple of our teams and ultimately did our taxes even. I ended up getting recruited by an executive search firm called Prodigy Sports, based out in New Jersey, to come work here in DC at Monumental Sports and Entertainment. They're best known as the ownership group for the Washington Wizards, the NBA team, and the Washington Capitals, the NHL team. They were one of the inaugural franchises to get into the NBA 2K League, as well as being investors in Axiomatic, which owns a controlling interest of Team Liquid. I worked there for almost two and a half years, which is where I met Claire and kind of had a lot of fun together, launching some NHL and NBA 2K League initiatives. And it was then announced that Overwatch, that DC would be getting an Overwatch League franchise. Overwatch was a game that I was just really passionate about, and sure enough, found my way to the Justice, and been here just over 3 years now.
Wow. That's amazing. So thank you both. You're coming to Chicago. You're going to be participating at EsportsNext, and you are going to be on the panel, How to Fund Your Favorite Activity, No Pressure. So tell us a little bit about your take on funding your favorite activities.
Yeah, I Claire went first, so I'll take this one.
Sure.
I'm actually born and raised in Michigan, so I have made the trek to Chicago a number of times. I have some family in Chicago, actually, so I'm really excited to go back to the Midwest. I'm a Midwestern boy by my heart and soul.
Midwest.
I think for our panel, this topic is just it's really important, right? I think when you think about the esports ecosystem, pushing teams to profitability or even break even status is kind of a core focus of, I think, what those of us on the team side think about and do every day. I think in particular, when you look at how the overall markets have kind of responded and reacted to just general economic conditions, it's become an even more important topic as of late. I think people are being a little bit more conservative with how they're investing their dollars and whatnot. So I think for us, we, and on this panel can obviously talk about it more, but there's kind of key revenue streams for teams, mostly through league revenues, league revenue share from team sponsorships, digital and media rights and streaming. But for us, it's how do you find the right mix and potentially even layer on something like a live event business, which I know Claire is actively trying to help some teams with as well. So it's just a super important topic, and I'm excited that we get the chance to talk about it.
Yeah. And even thinking outside the box, Grant, to your point, I think there's like key things that everyone knows about from a team and a league standpoint. But what are those outside of the box things that, maybe we haven't gotten to really thinking about yet? And so I'm excited to dive into those. I'm a Midwest kid as well. I'm from Ohio. So not too far, but I'm excited to get there and talk through this.
So speaking of that, and both of you have, I know at least Claire does, but you both have talked about different initiatives you've done with NHL and NBA 2K and all of that. And we're seeing like a lot of folks from traditional sports get into the esports space. So what makes you kind of excited about, attending Esports Next, talking with like-minded people who have maybe switched from traditional sports to esports? And what do you think that you can gain from kind of meeting other people and like getting this B2B experience?
Yeah. I think that's the whole thing. Sorry, Grant, I'm going to hop in here.
No, you take it.
Yeah, Lindsay, what you said is exactly like why I love conferences in general, or meeting with people is all about connection, right? Like you can't do anything by yourself. You can't change an industry. You can't move anything. You can't do anything by yourself. I won't try to recite the quote, but there is a quote that's like, go farther together. I'm missing the first part. But that's the key, right? And so for me, attending Esports Next is really about connecting with like-minded people. You 100% said it, and it's true. I think it's that idea can be watered down through like, hey, we're just networking, and I think the word "just" is kind of crazy there, because that's what you do when you come together and you connect and you make a difference in industries. Or for people or individuals or players, whatever that might be. So I am excited to go and learn new things. I'm excited to see new things. I'm excited to hear new things, and then figure out how we bring that to life. Like, okay, now that we have all this knowledge, let's go do something about it. So I am pumped.
Claire, I am so excited personally that you're coming, because I've heard that you really know how to put the jazz into events. And I'm always looking for more of a jazzy feel to anything.
Let's do it.
Oh my gosh, I swear I'm going to be like, so Claire, what do you think we should do next year?
Let's do it.
Well, you just can't help it, because I never get upset about, oh my God, we forgot to do that, or where's that? It's more like, put it on the list for next year. That's so exciting. And then that just leads me right in, because you guys are the greatest dynamic duo. It leads me right into my next question as to what are the trends we're going to be talking about. You guys don't have to give it all away here so people actually come, but please go for it, Grant. Sounds like you're
I was gonna say, we're just gonna launch our own podcast show and
I like
let's
it.
replace going to conferences. No, I mean, I think we talked about it a little earlier, and I think obviously we can save it for the panel as well. But I think there's been a couple of trends that, at least that I've seen from my perspective. I think one is like I mentioned earlier, just a big push toward profitability and kind of teams finding alternative revenue streams that, like Claire mentioned. I think sponsorships had been such a bread and butter, and I don't want to say reliance, but a certain reliance on on league revenue shares. And I think, now teams are starting to realize, and as much as everyone likes to give crypto and NFTs like a really hard time, which I think is somewhat justifiable, I think it did spark a lot of creativity to at least think outside the box, right? I think there are things that teams should be looking at doing and seeing like, hey, is this something that we can monetize in a good way that actually creates value for fans and our fan base? So I think that we that kind of is one big trend that we can certainly cover off on the panel. I think Claire, I don't know if you have anything else that's top of mind for you.
I'm always looking at the player side of things.
Players,
or the content creator and streamer side of things as well. I think like let's use the term talent that kind of blankets that. But for me, we've seen it in traditional sports, and I think that it's obviously been more prevalent in esports and the video game industry in general about like individuality. But you see a lot of people kind of like fans of teams, right? But lately and in younger generations, you're seeing fans of people. So someone is a LeBron James fan, they're not a Cavs fan or a Lakers fan, and their fandom can switch to teams based on who their favorite player is on, right? So I don't know, to answer your question, if this is a new trend. I think it's just a trend to be super, super mindful of and to figure out how to fund literally that activity if you are growing your platform and growing those types of things. So like for me, from a player perspective, it is more important than ever that talent as a whole really look at their brand extension or their extension of themselves from a business lens, and how that helps them fund their favorite activity. So that's, again, not a new trend, not something that's new to esports at all. I certainly don't want to showcase it that way, but I do think it's important that teams and leagues really help support their players and talent overall to help build those channels. Because I think for so long it's been thought of separate. And I don't actually think it is.
Well, and following up on that, and I'm curious to get both of your perspectives, Grant, both from the team side and Claire from the talent management side. What are kind of the benefits and or the drawbacks of being on a team as opposed to building your own brand as a streamer and having that as your main source of competitive play?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the $1 million question that I think a lot of talent goes through and has to evaluate. And I think, the ones who have really good representation, shameless plug for Claire. I think she's pretty good at helping them navigate that decision. But, when you join a team, right, you're exposed to a lot of different resources that you might not have as an individual. And it's not even necessarily about joining a traditional team per se, right? Like an esports org, like you could be a part of a talent collective. You could be a part of, some other organization that just puts and aggregates talent together. But, from the team perspective, we offer a couple of different things, a lot of resources on the content creation side in terms of video editing and design assets. We offer kind of social media management, right? We leverage kind of our core competencies on how we operate the team side of the business to also support and help scale content creator channels that we might have. And then I think the other big piece is sales, right? At the end of the day, you as talent might find it challenging to be out there selling, prospecting, driving revenue against yourself through sponsorships. And we as a team, that's how we derive, 90% of our revenue. So I think there's a lot of value add, hopefully, in the idea that, sellers who are selling for esports orgs could also extend those sales against content creators and talent that a team might sign. But there's definitely downsides. And an upside might be the team might pay you a salary, right? There's some stability that, that teams can give too, right? The world of content creation is tricky to navigate and find kind of stability in. But there's downsides, right? You are kind of limited in sometimes what you can do. There's restrictions on who you can or can't partner with, and at the end of the day, you're getting a cut of something. Whereas if you do it on your own, you might take home the whole lion's share of it. But this is Claire's world, so I don't know why I just went on that long tangent.
No.
How'd I do, Claire?
I think you nailed it. I think that the hard part is people think that things cannot coexist in this world. And I think, quite frankly, this is exactly why I founded the talent agency that I did, because there were some things that not necessarily bad, but just things that I questioned, that why is it structured this way? Why does the system work this way? At that time, traditional sports teams were very newly coming in and purchasing, maybe not necessarily like full esports orgs, but majority share. And how did that change the environment? And how did the traditional sports lens of like how player team works out, how was that kind of copy and pasted to some esports orgs, and what happened to the ecosystem when that happened? So, Grant's exactly right. I actually think that it's very beneficial. I just think it's important that the player and the talent has someone in their court that is also looking at it from their perspective as well, right? Because it can be exciting. It's, yes, I want to do all these things. This is a great brand. These are people I want to work with. My favorite streamer who I've always watched, where's this logo? So from that standpoint, I think it's just very important for someone to be able to look at, literally very basically look at a contract and say, these are the three things that maybe we should push back on. And these are things we're willing to move on because of this larger ecosystem that Grant mentioned. So I think that when things work out that way, it's amazing. I just think that there needs to be some systems put in place to make sure that everyone is benefiting from the relationship at hand.
Wow. Well, thank you, Grant and Claire, so much. First off, for coming on the show and sharing a little bit about yourselves, what you're up to. And secondly, for making the trip out to Chicago. It's so exciting to learn that you're Midwesterns and that Chicago's convenient for both of you. We really are so grateful to be here, and we appreciate what you're bringing to Esports Next. Did you want to share any handles with anybody that might want to be trying to connect with you?
Claire, you go first.
I think my Twitter is just Claire Kaido now. It's gone through a few iterations. And then if you need to find me on LinkedIn, Claire Kaido as well. Obviously, I think I'm public on there. And then I'll let you know on Instagram. We can talk about it at the conference.
Sure. Now that we've had this show, will you be my friend on LinkedIn? Because I said one of your yes.
Let's do it.
I know. I already followed you both on Twitter.
Great.
God, Claire with the super secret Instagram, man.
Definitely, definitely not super secret. It's
it's recorded. I'm getting it. Please, close us out, Linz.
Well, Grant, you share yours too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't get my plug. This feels bad, Megan.
This is so fair. That's why she's boss.
No, it's fine. I mean, Team Socials, Watch Justice, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I think everywhere, even TikTok. Myself, it's just, Grant on LinkedIn, and it's Kieranthil actually on Twitter, KeiranThil. So, definitely, if you're in Chicago, if you're coming, Claire and I don't bite, please come say hi. We're obviously looking forward to this panel, and thank you guys for having us on the show today.
Thank you both so much for coming on. For all the listeners out there, to find out more about Esports Next or register, visit esportsta.org, and don't forget to follow this podcast for all of our interviews coming up. We look forward to seeing you in Chicago.